like for you to presuppose, for example, metaphysical possibility, you need to presuppose the existence of God. You know, the ontological argument. For you to presuppose, for us to have knowledge about, you know, if causation exists, we need to presuppose God, right? For us to have knowledge about causation. So any of these arguments in evidentialism can actually be molded into precept.
You have to you just have to go one step more foundational.
Yeah, exactly.
God is like the most foundational, fundamental thing that would exist. If God is who he says he is, he's the most fundamental thing. So we have to argue for God as like a fundamental belief, not as like a, I don't know, so a normal everyday
happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now let me ask you this. So when you say that you think God is the ultimate reality,
yeah,
are you saying that you think that our reality, this universe, is made of like God's mind, of God's thought?
I'm saying that like God was the first thing to ever exist. He's the most fundamental thing that exists, and then everything comes.
And God is like
Just asking. Well, when you say prior, what does that mean? Is that a temporal notion?
Like there's preconditions for logic, and so the Bible.
Well, is prior there a temporal notion?
Logical priority. So there's preconditions for logic. So the Bible would be like the preconditions for logic.
Okay, so necessary is not a modal term?
So it's prior to logic, it's metalogical.
I'm just not hearing the answer to the question.
You are, but you're pretending not to, because you're doing the text is the Bible revealed, the revealed God of Scripture.
Does the Bible not contradict itself directly though, which would make it extremely, antithetical to facts?
But before we could talk about the Bible contradicting itself, we have to establish the preconditions for like logic, and the Bible is the precondition for logic, unless you have another precondition for logic.
I would say that the Bible creates a large logical fallacy.
Yeah, but then now you're going to have to say there's some other claim is the precondition for logic, but what claim could possibly be the precondition for logic? Because only the Bible can ground logic.
I disagree.
Verse, and it should reflect how people in the Bible, actually made their case, following those scriptural examples.
Okay, so when we talk about presuppositional apologetics compared to, say, those other approaches, classical or evidential, what's the real game changer? What's the core difference?
Well, the main difference really boils down to how they use logic and evidence. Presuppositionalists, according to this text, don't try to argue based on this idea that humans can somehow stand apart, totally objectively, and judge God's claims.
Like we're the ultimate arbiters.
Exactly. Instead, they use logic to show that the very fact that we can use logic, that reason works, that actually points to the God of the Bible.
So God is the precondition for logic itself.
That's the idea. God is the precondition for reason. And they also use logic to highlight inconsistencies within other worldviews to show they don't hold together.
Okay. And what about evidence? It's not just about piling up more facts and hoping people will suddenly get it.
That's a really...
So when we're talking about grounding logic, we're talking about God grounds or anchors logic, because logic has these properties like absolute, eternal, universal, unchanging.
Yeah, okay, but I have something a bit more concrete in mind. So say, for instance, the statement that if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Can you derive that statement from your belief? Because if it's grounded in God, then you should be able to, right?
I'm not really sure what you're saying, so I'm kind of confused.
It's just so we have a statement that if one thing equals, you understand that statement.
Okay.
Now you insist that all logic is created by, derived from, imposed by, whatever you want to call it, by God. So can you derive that statement from your belief in God?
Okay, so sure, we would need like the law of identity. So to have a law of identity, we need something that's like absolute, unchanging, and can limit the states of existence.
That's not what the law of identity is.
Law of
The
identity.
law of identity is that in any set of operations, there is a value which does not change another value in that operation.
And that presupposes an absolute identity statement to impose and secure the identity of any state, like entity, state of affairs. So,
Cool. So to cut to the point here, host.
That would be, so are you listening to me? Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening.
So if you reject that, then what's the absolute identity statement that is the necessary precondition for the law of identity so that you can have logic?
Our ultimate reality of the Christian God the revelation will explain rationality and logic, because God is rational. Logic is grounded in him and applies universally. So our minds and thoughts are aligned with the reality around us.